Setting output quotas will be top of the agenda at tomorrow's OPEC meeting in Vienna, but divisions, of course, remain between those members, and that could lead to another stalemate. I want to get more on what we can expect with Teymur Huseynov, Global Head of Energy Consulting at Exclusive Analysis, joins me in the studio now. Well, I mean, if we look at just some of the comments that have been coming from OPEC members just over the past few days, we've got Kuwait's oil minister saying that there is no need for OPEC to change its output or production quotas because the market is stable. How do you see the oil market evolving? Do you think that we will see further pressure in the coming months?
At the moment, the fundamentals of the market are in balance. Indeed, the demand for OPEC crude globally is unlikely to increase in the months ahead. And of course, depending on the dynamics of the global economy and the Eurozone crisis that has potential to affect other parts of the world, we could actually see demand for crude decreasing in the coming months, definitely in the first 2 quarters of the next year.
Okay, so you're expecting lessening demand because of a tough macroeconomic environment?
As long as the geopolitical environment stays stable and as long as we don't have a possible unrest in Libya developing further between the tribes and any possibility of attack on Iran.
That's a big if, isn't it? I mean, you've just mentioned 2 big geopolitical risks in the Middle East. So let's focus on Libya first, because actually it's not just the political situation that we watch very closely. It's about restoring stability and governance in that country so that they can get online, start essentially capitalizing on the oil reserves that they have. How soon do you expect that to happen? Is that going to have a significant impact on the oil market next year?
Libyan production is already returning on the market, and this crude, in terms of its grade and type, is very important, especially for the European refineries.
Light sweet crude.
As long as the situation doesn't get out of control in Libya itself, we expect the crude, the total production capacity to return to market by summer of next year.
Yes, okay, by summer of next year, that's when they will be back at full capacity. And so what is then your rough base case scenario for oil prices in 2012? Are you looking at something close to $100 a barrel?
It depends on a lot of factors, as you said, the global economy as well as the geopolitics. But depending on the situation in the markets and on the Middle East, I think the price of 100 to 110 is likely to be sustainable if we have the current scenario continue.
All right. So then what about, you mentioned Iran there. We've seen something of a deterioration in relations between Iran and the UK. How closely are you watching what seem to be growing political tensions over Iran?
The markets are reacting quite nervously to the situation and to news that are coming out of Iran. EU is discussing the embargo on Iranian oil exports. We don't think full embargo by the EU is likely, but certain members of the European Union are likely to impose these embargo. Iran is likely to be able to divert certain portion of its exports to the Asian markets, and indeed the latest official sales prices announced by Iran for the Asian markets show that Iran is quite confident in its ability to divert some of the supplies, but the country itself will definitely be hit.
So if we just look at a potential doomsday scenario, how would a disruption in Iran's oil supply impact world markets?
Quite significantly. I mean, the country is the second largest exporter in OPEC with 2.6 million barrels a day. Any possibility of an attack against Iran and even a short closure of the Straits of Hormuz would have quite significant effects on the global oil market.
So you've said that much of the oil price next year will be driven by, well, essentially 2 things: the depth of recession or indeed slowing growth in the developed world, the US and Europe, and then geopolitical tensions as well, obviously will impact supply. Which of those 2 things do you think will be the biggest force when it comes to the price of oil?
The biggest force is always fundamentals. Geopolitics affects the markets for short periods of time, and indeed we don't expect any possibility of war in Iraq to drag on for too long of a time. So the fundamentals of the market, i.e. supply and demand, will be the basic factors to watch.
Depending on potentially what could happen.
Indeed.
Geopolitically. Well, thank you very much indeed. Good to get your thoughts. Teymur Huseynov, Global Head of Energy Consulting at Exclusive Analysis.